My name is Melissa Jennison. I'm the director of our fine production. I want to thank you all for coming out to support the cast and crew in our Alice in Wonderland, which, as you know, is a benefit for our amazing programming at the Lawrence Memorial Library. Also in collaboration with the Bristol Gateway Players. And since you've waited such a long time, I'm not going to talk anymore, and I'm going to just head off to Wonderland, so enjoy the show.
What a curious dream. I dreamt I was a little girl living in the countryside doing her lessons and a bit late for afternoon tea. But wait, I am a little girl. These are my lessons, and dear me, I suppose I am late for tea.
Alice! Hot for tea!
Yes, that's right. Now I remember. I am Alice, and this is where I live. My, what a peculiar dream. Coming soon. What is the use of a book without pictures or conversations? How tiresome. Goodness, what was that? I must have had a curious dream indeed. Though it does make me wonder, am I still really Alice? I wonder. Very curious. A rabbit hole, a rather large one. Well, here goes. Well, after such a fall as this, I shall make nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave you'll all think me at home. I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time. I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. I wonder what latitude or longitude I've got to. Of course, I haven't the slightest idea what those words mean, but they certainly are next grand words to say. Oh, hello. Goodness me, I believe I'm shrinking.
So, I see you finally made it. Yes. Yes, I did. But who are you? Curious indeed. Oh, my ears! My whiskers! How light-skinned! Everything has become curiouser and curiouser. Come, there's no use crying like this. I advise you to leave off this minute. I generally give myself very good advice, though I barely seldom follow it. Oh, the Queen! The Queen! Won't you be so much if I captivated? If you please, sir. If you please, sir. Do you hear how clear everything is today? And yesterday, things went on just as usual. I wonder if I've changed in the night. I'll try to know all the things I used to know. Let me see. 4 times 5 is 12. And 4 times 6 is 13, and oh dear. I'm certain I must have been changed, but who can I have become? I'll try Mary Had a Little Lamb. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was black as pitch, it followed Mary everywhere, but fell into the ditch. Oh heavens, I'm sure those are not the right words. Well, if I'm someone else, I'll stay down here. It'll be no use putting their heads down and saying, come up again, dear. I shall only look up and say, who am I then? Tell me that first, and then if I like being that person, I'll come up. If not, I'll stay down here till I like who I am, but oh dear. I do wish they would put their heads down. I'm so very tired of being all alone here. It looks good-natured. Still, who are you? Cheshire Cat. Cheshire Puss? Would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here? That depends a good deal on where you want to get to.
I don't much care where.
So it doesn't matter which way you go?
So long as I get somewhere.
Oh, you're sure to do that, only if you walk long enough.
What sort of people live about here?
Well, in that direction lives a hatter, and in that direction lives a March hare. Because either one, they're both mad.
But I don't want to go among mad people.
You can't help that. We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad.
Why would you say I'm mad?
You would be, or you wouldn't have come here.
And how do you know you're mad?
To begin with the mad dog, you grant that. I suppose so. Well, you see, a dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. I growl when I'm pleased and wag my tail when I'm angry. Therefore, I'm mad. I call it purring, not growling. Call it what you like. Speaking of purring, I imagine you're pouring the tea at tea today. I should like that very much, but I'm very curious. Well, perhaps I should find the tea party. Let me see. I believe Cheshire Puss said the hatter lived that way.
No room, no room!
There's plenty of room.
Have some wine.
I don't see any wine.
There isn't any.
Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it.
It wasn't very civil of you to sit without being invited.
I didn't know it was your table. It's like for a great many more than 3.
Your hair wants cutting.
You should learn not to make personal remarks. It's very rude.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
I believe I can guess that.
Do you mean you think you can find the answer to it?
Exactly so.
Then you should say what you mean.
I do at least. I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know.
Not the same thing a bit. Why? You might just as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. And you might as well just say I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like.
And you might just as well say that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe.
What? This sounds like gobbledygook to me.
No, it's not even gobbledygook. This is absolute Jabberwocky. You see, it makes a kind of sense. Listen, watch. 'Twas Brilligan, the slithy toes, did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves, and moan wraths outbrave. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandy snatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time Mac's own foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood awhile in thought. And in offish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through his vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabjous day, callooh, calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brill again, the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves, and moan wrath so brave.
That was the most nonsense I ever heard.
Same to you. What day of the month is it?
The 4th.
2 days wrong. I told you not to oil it with butter.
It was the best butter.
Yes, but some crumbs must have gotten as well. You shouldn't have put it in with the bread knife.
It was the best butter, you know.
What a funny watch. It tells the day of the month, but doesn't tell the time of day.
Why should it? Does your watch tell what year it is?
Of course not. But that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together.
Which is just the case of mine.
I don't quite understand you.
The dormouse is asleep again.
Of course. Just what I was going to remark myself.
Have you guessed the riddle yet?
No, I give up. What's the answer?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Nor I.
I think you might have something better to do with time than wasting it and asking riddles that have no answers.
If you knew time as well as I do, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him.
I don't know what you mean.
Of course you don't. I dare say you never even spoke to time.
Perhaps not, but I know I have to be time when I learn music.
Ah, that accounts for it. He won't stand beating. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you'd like with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lessons. Ding ding, you only have to whisper a hint to time, psst, psst, and round goes the clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner.
I only wish it was.
Yes, certainly, that would be grand. But then I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know.
Not at first, perhaps, but you could keep it at 1:30 as long as you liked.
Is that the way you manage?
Not me. We quarreled last March, just before he went mad, you know. It was at the great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing. Twinkle, twinkle, little bats, how I wonder what you're at. You know the song, perhaps?
I've heard something like
It goes on, you know. Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're at.
Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle.
Well, I hardly finished the first verse before the Queen cried out, "He's murdering time off with his head."
How dreadfully savage.
And ever since that, time won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now.
Is that the reason so many tea things are put out?
Yes, that's it. It's always tea time. And we've no time to wash the things between whiles.
So, you keep moving around, I suppose.
Exactly so, as the things get used up.
But what happens when you come to the beginning again?
Suppose we change the subject. I'm getting tired of this. I bet that the young lady tells us a story.
I'm afraid I don't know one.
Then the dormouse shall! Wake up, dormouse!
I wasn't asleep. I heard every word you fellows were saying.
Tell us a story.
Yes, please do.
And be quick about it, or you'll be asleep again before it's done.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little sisters, and their names were Elsie, Lacey, and Tilly. And they lived at the bottom of a well. What did they live on? They lived on treacle. Treacle? Molasses? They couldn't have done that, you know. They'd have been ill. So they were very ill. But why'd they live at the bottom of a well?
Take some more tea.
I I've had nothing yet, so I can't take more.
You mean you can't take less? It's very easy to take more than nothing.
Nobody asked your opinion.
Who's making personal remarks now?
But why did they live at the bottom of a well? It was a treacle well. There's no such thing! Shh, shh. If you can't be civil, you better finish the story for yourself. No, please go on. I won't interrupt you again. I dare say there may be one. One indeed. And so these three little sisters, they were learning to draw, you know. What did they draw? Treacle.
I want a clean cup. Let's all move one place on.
But I don't understand. Where did they draw the treacle from?
You can draw water out of a water well, so I should think you could draw treacle out of a treacle well. Stupid!
But they were in the well. Of course they were. Well, and they were learning to draw, and they drew all manner of things. Everything that begins with an M. Why with an M?
Why not?
Oh, everything that begins with an M, such as mouse traps, the moon, memory, muchness. You know you say things are much of a muchness. Did you ever see such a thing as a drawing of a muchness? Really? Now you ask me? I don't think.
Then you shouldn't talk.
Really? You're all quite mad. Or not even real. Or worse.
At any rate, I'll never go there again. It's the stupidest tea party I've ever been at in all my life. As long as it really was me there, and not that other person, whatever her name is.
Alice! Alice!
So that's where you were.
Remember Dumb and Dee?
Dumb and Dee.
Remember?
If you think we're waxworks, you ought to pay, you know. Waxworks were made to be looked at for nothing, no how.
Contrary-wise, if you think we're alive, you ought to speak.
I'm sure I'm very sorry, but...
I know what you're thinking about, but it isn't so, no how.
Contrary-wise, if it was so, it might be, and if it were so, it would be. But as it isn't, it ain't. That's logic.
I was thinking, which is the best way out of this wood? It's getting so very dark. Would you tell me, please?
You've begun wrong. The first thing to say in a visit is how you do and shake hands. How you do is shaking hands, shaking hands, shaking hands. How you do is shaking hands. 4 times around is enough for one dance.
It would never do to say how do you do now. We seem to have come beyond that somehow. You're not too tired?
No how, and thank you very much for asking.
So much obliged. You like poetry?
Well, yes. Pretty well. Some poetry. But would you tell me, please, which road leads out of this wood?
What shall we repeat to her?
The walrus and the carpenter is the longest.
The sun was shining.
If it's very long, would you please tell me first which road?
The sun was shining on the sea. Shut Shining with all his might, he did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright. And this was odd because, you know, it was the middle of the night.
The walrus and the carpenter were walking close at hand. They wept like anything to see such quantities of sand. If this were only cleared away, they said it would be grand.
Oh, oysters, come and walk with us, the walrus did beseech. A pleasant walk, a pleasant talk along the briny beach. We cannot do with more than 4 to give a hand to each.
The eldest oyster looked at him, but never a word he said. The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head, meaning to say he did not choose to leave the oyster bed.
But 4 young oysters hurried up, all eager for the treat. Their coats were brushed, their faces washed, their shoes were clean and neat. And this was odd because, you know, they hadn't any feet.
4 other oysters followed them, and yet another 4. And thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more, all hopping through the frothy waves and scrambling to the shore.
Oh, the time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and ships, sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings.
But wait a bit, the oysters cried, before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath and all of us are fat. No hurry, said the carpenter, they begged him much for that.
A loaf of bread, the walrus said, is chiefly what we need. Pepper and vinegar besides are very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed.
But not on us, the oysters cried, turning a little blue. After such kindness, that'd be a dismal thing to do. The night is fine, the walrus said, do you mind the view?
It was so kind of you to come, and you're so very nice. The carpenter said nothing but, cut us another slice. I wish you were not quite so deaf, I had to ask you twice.
It seems a shame, the walrus said, to play them such a trick, after we brought them out so far and made them talk so quick. The carpenter said nothing but, the butter spread too thick.
I weep for you, the walrus said, I deeply sympathize. With sobs and tears he sorted out those of largest size, holding his pocket handkerchief before his streaming eyes.
Oh, oyster, said the carpenter, you've had a pleasant run. Shall we be trotting home again? But answer came there none. And this was scarcely odd because they'd eaten every one.
I like the walrus best, since he felt a little sorry for the poor oysters.
He ate more than the carpenter. You see, he held his handkerchief in front, so the carpenter couldn't count how many he took.
That was mean. Then I liked the carpenter best, if he didn't eat so many as the walrus. However, it's getting very dark. Do you think it's going to rain?
I don't think so, at least not under here now have.
But it may rain outside?
It may, if it chooses. We've no objection.
Selfish things.
Do you see that?
It's only a rattle, not a rattlesnake, you know. Only an old rattle, quite old and broken.
I knew it. It was spoiled, of course.
You needn't be so angry about an old rattle.
But it isn't old. It's new, I tell you. I bought it yesterday. My nice new rattle. Of course you agree to have a battle.
I suppose so, but only she must help us to dress up, you know.
Fine.
Really, they'll be more like bundles of old clothes by the time they're ready.
To keep my head from being cut off. You see, it's one of the most serious things that could possibly happen to one in battle, to get one's head cut off.
Do I look very pale?
Yes, a little.
I'm very brave generally, only today I happen to have a headache.
And I've got a toothache, far worse than you.
Well, we better still have a fight today.
Then you better not fight today.
Well, we must have a bit of a fight. I don't care about going on long. What's the time now?
4:30.
Let's fight till 6 and then have dinner.
Very well, and shake and watch. Only don't come very close. I generally hit everything I can see when I get really excited.
And I can hit everything in reach, whether I can see it or not.
You must hit the trees pretty often.
Well, I don't suppose there'll be a tree left standing for ever so round by the time you're finished.
And all about a rattle.
Alice!
Oh, there you are again. Could you please?
But not until you talk to Humpty Dumpty. Before he
Dumpty? Could it be the same Humpty Dumpty? He must be a stuffed figure after all. And how exactly like an egg he is.
It's very provoking to be called an egg. Very.
I said you looked like an egg, sir. And some eggs are very pretty, you know.
Well, some people have no more sense than a baby.
Let me see. Far too long for the poetry.
Don't stand there chattering to yourself like that. Tell me your name and business.
My name is Alice, but...
It's a stupid enough name. What does it mean?
Must the name mean something?
Oh, well, of course it must. My name means the shape I am, and a good, handsome shape it is, too. With a name like yours, you might almost be any shape.
Why do you sit out here all alone?
Why? Why? Because there's nobody with me. Do you think I didn't know the answer to that? Ask another.
Don't you think it would be safer on the ground? That wall is so very narrow.
What tremendously easy riddles you ask. Of course I don't think so. Why, if I ever did fall off, which there's no chance of, but if I did, the king has promised me, you may turn pale if you like, the king has promised me with his very own mouth to
send all his horses and all his men?
But no, I declare, you've been listening at doors and behind trees and down chimneys, so you couldn't have known that.
I have indeed. It's in a book.
Well, they might write such things in a book, I suppose. That's what you call the history of England, that is. But now take a good look at me. I'm the one who's spoken of a king, I am. Perhaps you'll never see such another. And to prove I'm not proud, you may touch my hand. Oh. Yes, all his horses and men, they'd pick me up in a minute, they would. However, this conversation is going on a little too fast. Let's go back to the last remark, but what?
I'm afraid I can't quite remember it.
Well, in that case, we start afresh, and it's my turn to choose a subject.
He talks about it as if it were a game.
So here's a question for you. How old did you say you were?
7 years and 6 months.
Wrong. You never said a word about it.
I thought you meant how old are you?
If I didn't meant that, I'd have said it. 7 years and 6 months, an uncomfortable sort of age. Well, if you'd had asked my advice, I'd have said leave it off at 7, but I'm afraid it's too late now.
I never ask advice about growing.
Too proud.
I mean, one can't help growing older.
One can perhaps, but two can. With proper assistance, you might have left off at 7.
If we really are to take turns in choosing subjects, it's my turn now. What a beautiful belt you've got on. Or rather, a necktie I should have said. Or no, a belt. Oops, I beg your pardon. If only I knew which were neck and which were waist.
It is a most provoking thing when a person doesn't know a necktie from a belt!
I know, it's very ignorant of me.
It's a necktie, child, and a beautiful one at that. It's a present from the king and queen. There, now.
Is it really?
They gave it to me. Yes, they gave it to me for an unbirthday present.
I beg your pardon?
Well, I'm not offended, my dear.
I mean, what is an unbirthday present?
A present given to you when it isn't your birthday, of course.
I like birthday presents best.
You don't know what you're talking about. How many days are there in a year?
365.
And how many birthdays have you?
1.
And if you take 1 from 365, what remains?
364, of course.
I'd like to see that done on paper.
365 minus 1 equals 364.
Yes, well, that seems to be done right. Yes.
You're holding it upside down.
Oh, to be sure I was, I thought it was a little clear, you know. As I was saying, that seems to be done right. Though I haven't had time to study it thoroughly just now. And that shows that there are 364 days where you might get unbirthday, right?
Certainly.
And only one for birthday presents. There's glory for you.
I don't know what you mean by glory.
Well, of course you don't, not until I tell you. By glory, I meant there's a nice knockdown argument for you.
The glory doesn't mean a nice knockdown argument.
When I use a word, it only means what I choose it to mean. Neither more nor less, period.
The question is whether you can make one word mean so many different things.
The question is, which is to be master? That's all. And they've a temper, some of them, particularly verbs. They're the proudest. Adjectives you could do anything with, but no, sir, not verbs. However, I can manage the whole lot of them, I can. Impenetrability, that's what I say. Huh.
Would you tell me, please, what you mean by that?
Now you talk like a reasonable child. By impenetrability, I meant that we'd had enough of that subject, and it'd mean just as well if you to tell me what you mean to do next. Assuming you don't wish to talk here all the rest of your life.
That's a great deal to make one word mean.
When I make a word do a lot of work like that, I always pay it extra.
Oh.
Yes, you should see them come round to me Saturday night for to get their wages, you know. That's all. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Till we meet again.
Oh, well, I shouldn't know you if we were to meet again. You're so exactly like the other people.
The face is what one goes by, generally.
Oh, well, that's just what I mean. Your face is the same as everybody else's. 2 eyes, so nose in the middle and the mouth under. Well, now, if you had 2 eyes on the same side of your nose and the mouth on top, that would be some.
It wouldn't look very nice.
Oh, wait till you try.
Goodbye. Goodbye, then. Of all the unsatisfactory fellows I've ever met.
What are you doing here? It's intermission.
I've sent them all to fix Humpty. Did you happen to meet any soldiers, my dear, as you came through the wood?
Yes, I did. Several thousand, I should think.
Well, I haven't seen the messenger yet, and that number was 4,207 to be exact. But just look along the road and tell me if you can see him.
I see nobody on the road.
Egad, I only wish I had such eyes to be able to see nobody, and at that distance, too. Why, it's as much as I can do to see real people by this light.
Oh, look, here he comes now.
So, of course, nobody walks slower than you.
I do my best. I'm sure nobody walks much faster than I do.
Oh, well, he can't do that, or else nobody would have been here first. However, now that you've got your breath, you may tell us what's happened in the town.
All whisper, Your Majesty. The Queen is coming!
You call that a whisper?
Alice, look out for the mushroom. The mushroom? Oh my goodness, the mushroom. Who are you? I hardly know, miss. Just at present, at least. I know who I was when I got up this morning. But I think I've been changed several times since then. What do you mean by that? Explain yourself. I'm afraid I can't explain myself because I'm not myself, you see. I don't see. I'm afraid I can't put it more clearly, for I can't understand it myself. And being so many different sizes in one day is very confusing. It isn't. Well, perhaps you haven't found it so yet. But when you have to turn into a chrysalis, and you will, and then after that into a butterfly, and I should think you would feel very strange, don't you? Not a bit. Well, perhaps your feelings may be different. All I know is it would feel very strange to me. You! Who are you? I think you want to tell me who you are first. Why? Come back. I have something I wanted to say. Keep your temper. Is that all? No. Are you looking for something? Why, yes, I am. I'm looking for Cheshire Puss. Do you know where I can find him? He's dreaming now. Dreaming? And what do you think he's dreaming about? Nobody can guess that. What? About you? And if he left off dreaming about you, where do you suppose you'd be? Where I am now, of course. Not you! You'd be nowhere. We're only sort of thing in his dream. I'm not. I am real. You won't make yourself a bit realer by crying. If I wasn't real, I shouldn't be able to cry. I know she's talking nonsense. But I wonder, who am I when I'm awake? I wonder. So you think you've changed, do you? I'm afraid I have, miss. For I can't remember things as I used. And I can't seem to keep the same size for 10 minutes together. What size do you want to be? I'm not particular as to that. Only, one doesn't like changing so often, you know. I don't know. Are you content now? Well, I should like to be a little larger. You know, 3 inches is such a wretched height to be. 3 inches is a very good height indeed. I happen to be exactly 3 inches. But I'm not used to it. You'll get used to it in time. I will? No, she won't. I won't. Will. Won't. Will. Won't. Help! I don't know if I'm will or won't. now, 5. Don't go splashing paint all over me. I couldn't help it. 7 jaws with elbow. That's right, 5. Always lay blame on others. You better not talk your crazy. Only yesterday you deserved to be beheaded. What for? That's none of your business, too. Yes, it is his business, and I'll tell him. It's from you. He couldn't do the business that he onions. Well, of all the other things. Would you please tell me why you are painting these roses? Why, the fact is, you see, miss, this here ought to have been a red rose tree, and we put a white one in by mistake. And if the queen were to find out, we should all have our heads cut off, you know. We're doing our best afore she comes to... The queen! The queen!
Off to your head! And here! Yo! What's your name, child?
My name is Alice, so please, your majesty.
And who are these?
How should I know? It's no business of mine.
Off with her head! Off!
Nonsense!
Consider, my dear, she is only a child. Speak in French when you can't think of the English for a thing. Turn your toes out as you walk, and remember who you are. That's all. Goodbye. I mean, hello. Goodbye? Oh, goodbye, hello. Oh, mercy me, I'm so confused.
Tell me over! Get up! Leave off that, you make me giddy! What have you been doing here?
May it please, your majesty. We are trying.
I see. Off with the heads!
You won't be beheaded.
Are the heads off?
Your head's on with me, your majesty.
That's right. Can you play croquet?
Yes.
Come on then, get your places! Begin! Oh, but never mind. It's my fault, please. Quiet!
Well, you look a little better now. But still, you should have a later date.
I'm sure I'll take you with pleasure. 2 pence a week and jam every other day.
Oh, I don't want you to hire me and add a paper jam.
Don't care for.
Oh, it's very good, jam.
Very good jam indeed. Well, I don't want any today at any rate.
Couldn't have if you did want
The
it.
rule is jam tomorrow and jam yesterday.
But never jam today. It must come sometimes to jam today.
No, it can't.
It's jam every other day.
You know, today's not any other day, you know.
Of course not.
Today is today.
I don't understand you. It's dreadfully confusing.
That's the effect of living backwards. It makes one a little giddy at first.
Living backwards? I never heard of such a thing.
But there's one great advantage in it.
One memory works both ways. How are you getting on? Oh, look, it's Cheshire Puss. Now at least I shall have someone to talk to. Well, about this croquet game. They don't seem to have any rules in particular. You've no idea how confusing it all is. I should have croqueted the Queen's hedgehog just now, only it ran away when it saw mine coming. How do you like the Queen? Not enough. She's so extremely likely to win that it's hardly worthwhile finishing the game.
Who are you talking to?
It's a friend of mine, a Cheshire Cat. Allow me to introduce it.
Ah, well, I don't like the look of it at all. However, it may kiss my hand if it likes.
I'd rather not.
Well, what would you rather?
I'd rather bring on the mock turtle. The who? Haven't you heard of the mock turtle yet? No, I don't even know what a mock turtle is. It's the thing mock turtle soup is made from. It's the thing mock turtle soup is made from. I never saw one or heard of one. Come on, then, we shall tell you his history. Here, Griffin, up, you lazy thing. Take this
the Queen. That too. It's all her fancy, that. They never execute nobody, you know. Come on.
Everybody says come on here. I never was so ordered about it in all my life. Never. What is her sorrow?
She hasn't got no sorrow, you know. Come on, this here young lady wants to know your history, she do.
I'll tell it her. Sit down, both of you, and don't speak a word till I finish.
I don't see how she can ever finish if she doesn't begin.
Once, I was a real turtle.
Thank you, sir, for your interesting story. But perhaps there's more to come, so I'll sit down and say nothing.
When we were little, we went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We called him Tortoise.
Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one?
We called him Tortoise because he taught us. Really, you are very dull.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question.
Yes, when we were little, we went to school in the sea, though you mayn't believe it.
I never said I didn't.
You did!
Hold your tongue.
When we had the best of educations. In fact, we went to school every day.
I've been to day school. You need to be so proud of all that.
With extras?
Yes, we learned French and music.
And washing?
Certainly not.
Then yours wasn't a really good school. Now at ours, at the end of the bill, French, music, and washing. Extra.
You couldn't have wanted washing. Living at the bottom of the sea.
I couldn't afford it. I only took the regular course.
What was that?
Reeling and rising, of course, to begin with, and then the different branches of arithmetic: ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision.
I never heard of uglification. What is it?
Never heard of uglifying? You know what to beautify is, I suppose.
Well, yes. It means to make things prettier.
Well, then if you don't know what to uglify is, then you are a simpleton.
What else had you to learn?
Well, there was mystery, ancient and modern, was geography. Then drawing. The drawing master was an old Congregan. He taught us drawing, stretching, and fainting in coils.
What was that like?
Well, I can't show it to you myself. I'm too stiff, and the griffin never learnt it.
Depending on the time. I went to the classical master, though. He was an old crab, he was.
I never went to him. He taught laughing and grief, they used to say.
So he did. So he did.
So, how many hours a day did you do lessons?
10 the first, 9 the next, so on, so on.
What a curious plan.
That's the reason called lessons. They lesson from day to day. Would you like the mock turtle to sing you a song, or shall I lead a dance?
Oh, a sound, please. This turtle would be so kind.
No kind for tastes. Sing your turtle soup, will you, old fellow?
Beautiful soup, so rich and green, waiting in a hot tureen. Who for such dainties would not stoop? Soup of the evening, beautiful soup.
Beautiful soup, beautiful soup, soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, who cares for fish, game or any other dish? Who would not give all that's for two, pennyworth only of beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, beautiful soup, soup of the evening, beautiful soup. doing? They can't have anything to write down before the trial's begun. They're writing down their names for fear they're probably going to forget them before the end of the trial. Stupid things.
Silence in court! How do you spell stupid? Silence! All hail King and Queen of Hearts.
Herald, read the accusation.
The Queen of Hearts made some tarts on a summer day. The knave of Hearts stole those tarts and took them clean away.
Consider your verdict.
Not yet, there's a great deal to for that.
Oh, call the first witness.
First witness?
I beg pardon, Your Majesty, for bringing these in, but I hadn't quite finished my tea when I was sent for.
Well, you ought to have finished. When did you begin?
14th of March, I think it was.
15.
16.
Write that down.
They're writing down all 3 dates, adding them up, and reducing them to nickels and dimes?
Take off your hat.
It isn't mine. Stolen. I keep them to sell. I'm one of my own. I'm a hatter.
Give your evidence, and don't be nervous or I'll have you executed on the spot.
Oh, heavens! I'm beginning to grow larger again. Perhaps I should get up and leave court. Well, perhaps I should stay as long as there's room for me. I wish you wouldn't squeeze so. I can hardly breathe.
I can't help it. I'm growing.
You've no right to grow here.
Don't talk nonsense. You know you're growing too.
Yes, but I'm growing at a reasonable pace. Not in that ridiculous fashion.
Bring me the list of the singers in the last concert.
Give your evidence, or I'll have you executed whether you are nervous or not.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty, and I had begun my tea not above a week or so. And what with the bread and butter getting so thin, and the twinkling of the
twinkling of what?
It began with the tea.
Well, of course twinkling begins with a T. Do you take me for a dunce? Go on.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty, and most things twinkled after that. Only the more care said.
I never did.
You did.
I deny it.
Oh, he denies it. Leave out that part.
Well, at any rate, the dormouse said. After that, I cut some more bread and butter.
But what did the dormouse say?
That I can't remember.
Oh, well, you must remember, or I'll have you executed.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty.
What are tarts made of?
Tea?
Call it that, dormouse! Behead that dormouse! Turn that dormouse out of court! Suppress him! Pinch him! Off with his whiskers! If that's all you know about it, you may stand down.
I can't go no lower, Your Majesty. I'm on the floor as it is.
Oh, well then sit down.
I'd rather finish my tea.
You may then. And just take his head off outside! Never mind! Call the next witness. Really, my dear, you must cross-examine the next witness. It quite makes my forehead ache.
They haven't got much evidence yet.
Alice!
Here!
The trial cannot proceed, jury, until the others are back in their proper places. What do you know about this business?
Nothing.
Nothing whatever.
Nothing whatever.
That's very important. Unimportant. Majesty means, of course. Unimportant. Of course I meant. Unimportant. Important. Unimportant.
Oh dear, some are writing down important and others unimportant. But it doesn't matter a bit.
Oh, silence, rule 42. All persons more
court.
I'm not a mile high.
You are. And there's 2 miles high.
Well, I shan't go, at any rate. Besides, this is not a regular rule. You made it up just now.
Well, it's the oldest rule in the book, thank you.
Then it ought to be number 1.
Consider your verdict.
There's a great verse number 5 yet. Please, Your Majesty, this paper has just been picked up.
What's in it?
I haven't opened it yet, but it seems to be a letter from the prisoner. To somebody, I guess.
Well, it must have been Cash. Unless it was a letter written to nobody, which isn't usual, you know.
It wasn't a letter. It was a set of verses. In the prisoner's handwriting? No, and that's the clearest thing about it.
You must have imitated somebody else's hand.
Please, Your Majesty, I didn't write it, and I can't prove that I did. There's no ink at the end.
Oh, well, if you didn't sign it. If you didn't sign it, that only makes the matter worse. You must have meant some mischief, or else you'd have signed your name at the end like an honest man.
And that proves his guilt, of course. So off with!
Proves nothing of the sort. Why, you don't even know what they're about.
Read them. Where should I begin, Your Majesty?
Begin at the beginning, go on until you reach the end, then stop.
Okay. They told me they had been to her and mentioned me to him. She gave me a good character, but said I could not swim. He said the word I had not got. He knew it could be true. If she should push that matter on, then what would come to you? I give her 1, I give it 2. You gave us 3 or more. We all returned from him to you. Though they were mine before. My notion was you had been, before she had this fit, an obstacle that came between him and ourselves and it. Don't let her know that she liked them best, but this must ever be a secret kept from all the rest between yourself and me.
Well, that's the most important piece of evidence yet. So now let the jury.
If any of them can explain it, I'll give them a dime. I don't believe there's an atom of meaning in it.
Well, if there's no meaning in it, then that saves the world of trouble, as we needn't try to find any you do. And yet, I seem to see some meaning in them. Said I could not swim. You can't swim, can you?
Do I look like it?
And if she should push the matter on, that's the queen. What we know it to be true, that's the jury. What would become of you? What indeed? I gave her 1, they gave him 2. Why, that must be what he did with the tarts, you
But it
know.
goes on. They all return from him to you.
Why, there it is. Nothing can be clearer. And yet, before she had this fit, you never had fits, my dear, I think.
Never!
Well, then, the words don't fit you. It's a pun. The words don't fit you. Never mind. Let the jury consider the verdict.
No. Sentence first, verdict afterwards.
Stuffing nonsense. The idea of having a sentence first.
Hold your tongue.
I won't.
Off with her head!
Who cares for you? You're nothing but a pack of cards. Oh, I've had such a curious dream. The white rabbit, the blue caterpillar, the mad, mad tea party, the poor, sad mock turtle, the trial over tarts, the king and, oh, the dreadful queen. But it was all just a dream. Or was it? Oh, now I remember. I was talking about dreaming just a minute ago. Or was it just dreaming about talking? Which one is which? Oh goodness, now I am confused. How curious it all is indeed. Though, I must be running into tea. It's getting late. Ah, but what a wonderful dream it has been.